I thought last week's game a couple days ago was good. I thought we came out and set the tone early, running the football. The line of scrimmage, offensive line did a heck of a job. Backs, everyone involved. It was a good performance, and we're looking forward to this week.
Did you go into the game thinking you were going to run that much, or as you were running it was going
Yeah, I think we wanted to establish a run game, and I think anytime you go into a game, you have a vision of what you want it to look like, and sometimes that vision doesn't always go out that way. Well, it did, and when things are working, you keep sticking with it, and sometimes, I've been in games last year as a coordinator where I went into a game saying, hey, shoot, we're going to run the heck out of it, and early on in the first quarter, we started throwing a little bit, and the ball wasn't hitting the ground. And we ended up throwing it 45 times and throwing for over 350 yards. So the things like that happen. So if things are working, you stay with it.
The running backs get a bunch of the acclaim for it, but you mentioned the O-line. What about this O-line allows them to be able to dictate that?
Well, I think they've played together for a while, our offensive line, and they got a great nucleus. Coach Stout and Roy do a heck of a job with those guys, and Kelsey, his leadership and his ability. He's played in this league for a long time, and he holds all those guys accountable. And I think anytime you hold a group accountable within that position like he does, you're going to have success.
In past weeks, you've been asked about the running game. Mm-hmm. It's come during weeks when the ball did hit the ground quite a bit. So what took you guys so long to establish the running games?
I don't know if it's especially that. I sometimes, like you said, you go in, each week is different. You go in with a vision of what you want it to look like. And sometimes, you're like, oh, shoot, we're going to throw it a little bit. And that game, we ran it, and we were running it good, so we stayed with it, bottom line.
What makes Boston and Jordan so effective, short yardage and down by the goal line?
You know what? They did a great job of just running downhill. You know what I mean? They saw the holes and they hit it. The offensive line obviously did a great job creating those holes, but they had great vision and just pounded it in there. Obviously, we were short one guy a few times down in there, but our offensive line just mauled off the ball, and we just got it in there. It was good.
What was it about your time with the Chargers together with Nick that made him think, when he became head coach, that, Shane's going to be the guy I go to for my offensive coordinator?
I think we just worked well together. We worked really well together in San Diego. We thought very similar about football, and that bond carried over the years. Obviously, he went to Indy, and we kept in contact, and we always talked football throughout those years, and obviously now we're here together.
What do you think? Not a lot went wrong Sunday. Javonte had the drop early. Mm-hmm. He had a drop in Las Vegas. Nick talked about it. What do you see there, and how do you get him going back in the right direction?
Yeah, I think like Nick said the other day, you don't want to harp on drops. Like those things happen. Like things in football happen. You get some drops, but it's all right. You just keep working through it, and you correct it, and you get the techniques right, and we're not worried about drops. Devontae's a heck of a football player.
What kind of unique insight can you offer on Justin Herbert?
Justin Herbert, he's a heck of a football player, bottom line. He's big. He's got a huge arm. He can stand in the pocket. That's one of the biggest things I learned being around him is from a rookie last year. He's able to stand in there when the blitz is coming, and he can take hits and stand there and deliver the throws. He's smart. He's intelligent. He gets the ball out of his hands. You'll see on tape a lot of times he's hitting his back foot, and boom, and he gets the ball to the check down quickly. So he's got accelerated vision. He can do it all. Heck of a football player.
How early in camp or even OTAs last year did you see that kind of talent?
Well, you saw the physical ability without a doubt, him throwing. And then you always want to know what it's going to look like when he gets in a game. And obviously each week he would do something each week that was like, holy crap, that was pretty impressive. And he continued to do that week in and week out. And he's been playing good football again this year.
How are you helping as a resource to Gannon and the defensive staff this week?
Yeah, they've asked me a few questions about Justin and the rest of those guys. They're a good football team. They got a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and the Cook, the tight end, and Austin Eckler. So there's a lot of weapons with those guys. So I've been giving my insight on those guys' ability and obviously Justin Herbert as well. So. Yeah.
Are there any lessons that you took from coaching a young player in Justin last year to coaching a different young player?
Absolutely. I think it was good. I was around, like you said, Phillip Rivers for so many years, a veteran guy that's seen pretty much everything, and then going from that to a rookie, seeing how those guys see the game. So it has definitely helped me being with Justin last year and then being with Jalen this year. So it's been really good.
Some of those things.
I just think, from a veteran standpoint, obviously you see so much, right? And those guys can handle so much. As a rookie, it's like, hey, what can this guy handle going into a game? How many kills can we have on the game plan? How many adjustments can we have throughout the game? So I think that's been good, that stuff.
What was it about Rivers that made your guys' relationship, because Nick references him a lot too, that just made it so foundational to how you guys look at that position and look at offenses?
I think just he was basically a coach. Phillip Rivers was a coach. So when you have those conversations in the quarterback room day in and day out and on the field, he sees the game so well. So when you're talking to him, he had like a picture memory. So there would be conversations where it'd be like, hey, back in 2012, you remember the game? Oh, yeah, on third down on the 40-yard line. Remember the guy cut the crosser? Like there was all those conversations that was just, it made it so easy to communicate with him. So it was good.
Shane, going back to the Raiders game where you guys came out on your opening drive, did a lot of under center. Theoretically, if that game had been different and you guys had more possession in the first 2 or 3 quarters, would that have looked like what we saw against the Lions?
Yeah, possibly. Like I said, it's game by game. I think the way the game's flowing and how it's going is dictating how the game's going to get called.
When you talk about Phillip, because as Jeff said, Nick mentions him a lot as well, how does that help you as a coach to have somebody? I mean, it's great to have a quarterback that knows everything that's like a coach,
Yeah.
but you don't always have that. You had a rookie last year. You have a very young quarterback. Can that hinder in some ways when you have?
No, I think you learn from those experiences. You know, you got a veteran guy that's seen everything, and then you can take what you've learned even from those guys, those veteran quarterbacks that have played in the league for so long and know so much. Like even as a coach, you learn from those guys. Like, hey, well, shoot, I've ran this route versus this because of this. That makes sense. So those conversations take place, and then it carries over into a young quarterback when you see those things and you have those same conversations with him. So it's good.
On a personal standpoint, does this game mean anything extra to you?
No, I'm excited to see some of those guys. Obviously, I had a great time in LA/San Diego. Got a ton of respect for that organization. It'll be good to see the guys, but just excited. We know it's going to be a heck of a challenge. Obviously, defensively, Joey Bosa is a heck of a football player. He's an elite pass rusher, so we got to be ready for him. And Derwin James, it's good to see him back healthy. He's been battling like crazy. But to see him playing again is good, and we know that we're going to have our hands full with those guys.
Shane, was the intent to get the ball in Jalen Reagor's hands more like we saw in the first drive for the game until he got hurt, or was that more part of just the first scripted play?
We had a few of those things, but we always have stuff in. Every week we have stuff in for every guy. You know, sometimes it's like the way the game's flowing. It's like, oh, let's get to this. And then sometimes, depending on the score and the way the game's flowing, there's certain plays you got to get to. Sometimes you don't get to all of it. You know, you have 65, 70 plays in a game. You don't get it all called.
Hurts done with his eyes in the pocket when he sees the rush. Do you guys spend a lot of time looking at that, whether his eyes are dropping or not, and how he's doing it?
Yeah, no, I think he's doing a heck of a job. I mean, obviously, he did a heck of a job managing the game last week. He had that third and 12 backed up. I mean, to me, we talked about Stav, and that was the play of the game. I mean, he got us out of backed up, scrambling, made some big plays, and obviously he was efficient throwing the football on Sunday, so it was really good to see.